Welcome to Nuanced Beauty, because the world is nuanced and we think that's beautiful. Hi guys, welcome back to Nuanced Beauty. This week, I am bringing you another interview. Today, I have Kalie with me, and she is the founder of FULLforLife, which is a coaching, mentoring program that supports women struggling with their weight or struggling with burnout or struggling with feelings of unfulfillment. She is on a mission to help us break free from our negative thought patterns that really lead us into a downward spiral. Her program provides kind of a practical approach to emphasize our diet and changing to a real food diet, as well as fostering gratitude to help us grow in our overall mindset. Thanks for coming on the show today, Kalie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Let's hop right in. I wanted to start by just asking you about what got you into this wellness path and what's your story?
So I've always really been into health and wellness, and I started out as a dental hygienist, and I worked as a dental hygienist for years and years, and I was really close with my grandmother. And she really lived her life to the fullest, and she just radiated joy and true, authentic health and didn't chase perfection. She really focused on getting a little better every day to be her happiest, healthiest self. Her life was all about small things that fit into her life and made her feel good. Mm-hmm. And so she passed away after I was working as a hygienist for quite a few years. And I wanted to create something that embodied this lifestyle that she lived and that would help women live this full life and inspire generational wellness. And so I teamed up with my mom and we moved into this direction of creating FULLforLife.
Oh, nice. Was your mom super giddy and excited to go on mission in this way?
She was apprehensive at first a little bit because, I think it was a big undertaking,
are you sure you really want to do this and leave your stable dental hygienist job?
Right, exactly. Okay. So, but yeah, she was 100% on board. She, as I bring up generational health and wellness, my grandmother lived this life who then it trickled into my mom, mm-hmm. which trickled into me. And so mm-hmm. she really was on board because it was something that she grew up with too and really
she understood.
Felt, a passion for that generational legacy.
Okay. Let's dive into the negative self-talk topic.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody has dealt with battles of how they're talking to themselves or what's going on in their inner dialogue. This being an area of focus for you. Tell us about how you handled this and who influenced you to handle it better.
So, man, my parents got divorced when I was in elementary school, and it really tanked my confidence. I didn't feel like I belonged. I kind of shifted who my friends were after they got divorced. I felt like I wasn't worthy. I really struggled and I was really insecure. And so through high school and college, I had a huge problem with negative self-talk. Okay. And when my grandmother died, we were cleaning out her belongings and we came across her journal that she wrote in every single day. And every entry ended with, "Thank you, God, for yada, yada, yada." And they were small things. It was thank you for, the bird that was chirping on my walk home today. And
oh, cool.
Simple things.
Yeah.
But I was really lost at that time in my life. And it was just profound to me, this sense of gratitude that she had for things. And it kind of wrapped around who she was and the full life that she lived. And so I started really focusing on little things that I was grateful for every day. Mm-hmm. And my mindset started to shift to one that was a lot more positive when I, over weeks and months of me practicing that. Mm-hmm. And I started seeing the glass of life as more of half full rather than half empty. Mm. And I can vividly remember I was at a gas station one day and I was there by myself. I had somewhere to be and it was pouring down raining. And I got out of my car and I was so frustrated. I'm it's raining. I'm going to get all wet. I have somewhere to be, all of these things. Uh-huh. And I looked up at the sky and it was lightning and thundering. And I just thought to myself, I can really take this moment to think about the beauty of what I'm seeing, or I can grumble about it. And so I just stood there for like a minute or two and just really like listened to the rain and watched the lightning and listened to the thunder. And it was just a shift for me. And so at that time, I was very purposeful and intentional about directing that positivity towards how I saw myself as well. So it wasn't just things that I was grateful for in life. I started to think about myself that way in that positive light too. And so I would say, you know, that's how I kind of came out of that negative self-talk. It was like the initial stages of it. And my grandmother obviously would be who kind of influenced that the most, because it was her journal that was like the catalyst that got me started on like
thinking about that way. When did she pass?
2015.
And so were you like, you mentioned like negative self-talk through growing up and beyond. So like you're an adult at this time. Okay. So you had a lot of years of just being more so in that negative headspace then.
Yeah.
Okay. So like you kind of shared, you had that like really vivid memory from that moment. If that was, so 2015, it's now 2024. Like, do you feel like it was just a gradual change? You just continued to implement and practice, and it just like, it kind of continued in a positive trend maybe?
Absolutely. You know, there's no quick fix. And I think that that's like the biggest thing with Full for Life and why we really wanted to start it, and like the big passion behind it, because you can't just shift your mindset, you know, today and tomorrow everything's going to be hunky dory, or you can't just start eating a certain way and all of a sudden, you know, you're going to lose the weight and whatever. It has to be slow and sustainable and doable for you. And so for me, it was like months, years of practicing that and being really intentional about it until I really saw like a huge transformation in who I was as a person. You know, I saw like the little nuggets, but it was like years of practicing it that one day I was like, wow, this is like,
this
pretty
made
cool.
An impact in myself. Do you feel like your family and friends noticed as well?
I would say definitely yes. Okay. Yeah. Because I think I just, like I said, growing up after the divorce and everything, I just kind of was really lost. And I finally started to find myself and become comfortable and, you know, march to the beat of my own drum rather than the drum that I thought other people wanted me to march to. And so there was definitely a shift.
I feel like the thing that comes up for me with like negative self-talk and just in general, I think that our internal dialogue is truly the greatest equalizer. I think that if we take a little bit of time and we actually got really vulnerable or really transparent, I mean, take your pick. I think there's a difference between the two. But if you were to be in a close relationship with someone and really pour out what is in your heart, what are the emotions that you are feeling, and allow everyone or allow people to see that, I feel like we realize that everybody has moments of hardship and moments of feeling less than, but we can't just like stop there, because everyone also has that next step choice, like you just described in your experiences, where you get to choose to either stay in that like spot and really just continue negatively thinking, or you get to choose to reframe it, or even, you know, even better, like deprioritize the things that need to be holding less power and not consuming you the way that they are. It's really powerful, and it's like nobody can see it, you know? It's a choice.
True. Yeah, it is 100%.
So I have to say, in the informational videos that are on your website, my husband and I were watching, and we thought that you and your family looked very lovely, but also just very idyllic and put together. And I am sure that this is in part because it's marketing, and part of marketing is, you know, you want to appeal to people, like you have confidence and you know what you're talking about. That said, how have you navigated the societal pressures to look a certain way or do specific things, especially here in the Southeast culture?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that. But honestly, a lot of the time I'm a total mess, just, you know, normal. My default look is always a baseball cap, no makeup, and I love workout clothes. Like that's my 90% look. But I would say I've navigated the pressure from society to look and act a certain way by becoming very deliberate about what I want for myself, what feels right for me and for my family. And I make sure that my choices align with that. And so even when there's pressure to do something, I kind of check in with myself to see like, is that on my moral compass or is it not? When I find like I'm feeling the weight of the world and all the pressures, I talk to my husband a lot, about it, good or bad.
Yeah.
And,
Having
just
a
like,
confidant.
yeah, just like everything. I mean, I'm human. And so some days I feel down and overwhelmed and depressed and under, the pressure of the societal standards, but that's okay. But I've learned to be aware of these moments and I actively work on shifting my mindset back. So I let myself feel the feels, I acknowledge it, and then I talk to Eric about it or sit with myself and really think about it. And that I move on from it. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure that each of those experiences are just gold in how, like, when we have those moments, we get to, and especially in your case, because of this program, like you get to pay it forward and share your experience in a way that's mentoring others. So that's lovely.
Thank you.
I feel like for me, when I kind of think about like navigating societal pressure versus what you're going to choose to do and what you're expected to do, I think there's this opposing kind of like thought. And on one side, you really want to stand out. But on the other side, you really want to fit in. So there's this like, oh, I want to be unique and I want to be an individual and confident and all that. But then I also want to be relational and I want to connect with people and I don't want to be an outlier. And so I think we all have this like funky line where we kind of like tilt on either side. And I guess if we can get comfortable in both of those, the moments when we want to fit in and the moments when we want to stand out, I think that makes life a little easier.
I totally agree with you. I mean, as people and women especially, we crave connection and it's key to find that, but also while being true to yourself. And so I think one of the biggest things that I've realized now at almost 40 is it's important to value myself enough to be selective about who I allow into my inner circle. And it's more about surrounding myself with genuine connections and positive influences that uplift and support me on my journey. And sometimes, that is difficult because like you said, you want to fit in, but at the same token, that might not be like who you are at your core. And so you have this push, pull. So I try to like, again, go back to that like intentionality of like
what
checking
matters
in with
most
myself.
For you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. And really it's like that line, like you said, being selective about your inner circle, but also being inviting because, it's like dancing there. But, okay, I wanted to also dive into the topic of eating. If we Google, how should I eat? Obviously, we're going to get a barrage of all these suggestions and recommendations and also this eat this and not that. And of course, I have struggled with that. I'm sure others have struggled with that. And there is a sense of demonizing certain foods along the way too. So how have you dealt with this in your life around eating? How do you talk about this with your clients that work with you?
So I completely understand the struggle with this. And especially when I was like in college, right out of college, before FULLforLife was ever created, this was definitely something I struggled with. I had some issues with an eating disorder for a while and the push pull of like the eat this and don't eat that and restriction and different things like that. And, it can feel very overwhelming. What should you be eating? What shouldn't you be eating? It's confusing. It can feel defeating at times. But I think the most important thing that I want to say with that is that there is a place for everything in our diets, like everything, cookies, ice cream, pizza, there is a place for it. If someone tells you that you can't have something or that you need to restrict something or you read it, then you should probably rethink what you're reading or who you're working with because there is a place for everything. And I think a really important aspect of that for me now that I'm a mom that I consider is, when you get caught up in a whirlwind of like demonizing certain foods through, what people are saying on social media or what the marketing is, on packaging or what is in magazines or what you see on TV, your family, especially your kids, they're always observing and they're learning from you. And so let's just say, you see this and you decide you're going to completely cut out carbs. You're going on a low or like a no carb keto diet. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that like maybe if you have a daughter, without you even saying a word, she's picking up on your choice of like, I'm restricting this. And then she's internalizing it because she looks up to you. And so then maybe she'll later struggle with, an unhealthy food relationship because of it. So it's crucial to be mindful of your eating habits and how they might shape your children's relationships with food as they grow up into young adults as well. So the eat this, not that, there's no not that. There is a place for everything in your diet. And when it comes to talking to the women who are part of the Full for Life community, we really try and emphasize that. And in conjunction with that, our days and our lives all look different, right? Like we all are completely different human beings. So a major part of what we do when we work with women is guiding them in ways to maximize their 24 hours for themselves and their families so that they can be their happiest, healthiest selves and they can bounce back when things don't go as planned. Family is a really big part of that. And so it's important, whether it's what you're eating or your mindset or anything, to find the sweet spot where everyone's happy and healthy. And it's all sustainable and done in a gradual way that works for everyone. So, if you want to have pizza or bread or different things like that, there's a place for it. And maybe you're not eating it 24/7 and it's not a whole, your entire diet isn't that, but there is a place for it. And anyone that says that you can't have those things and you shouldn't have those things probably shouldn't be a huge influence in your life, I would say.
Yeah. And I do think that there is there's the give and take. And I think at times there's room for paying attention to your portions. There's room for limiting your foods, but it should be for a season. It shouldn't be like a full blanket statement, like never consume that. It shouldn't be a never statement.
Right.
That's when it kind of I think it gets delicate because we lose the freedom that we have and that messes with our mindset, right?
Right. And then you go in. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
you go into this mindset of it's almost like the Last Supper mentality, where if you're telling yourself, I can't have that, when you do have it, you tend to
or shameful, one of the two.
Exactly. It's either gluttonous that you overdo it, but then if you do, you feel bad about it. And so then there's this guilt that plays a role in it, where if you allow yourself to just have small amounts, I love that you brought up portion control, because that's a huge aspect of a healthy relationship with food is creating, that positive relationship with pizza and cookies and different foods that, you shouldn't be eating all of the time, but that there's nothing wrong with in smaller portions and as maybe a side to what your main dish is.
And do you also, I'm wondering, do you kind of chat with your clients a bit about, I guess, ingredients? Because you mentioned that you focus toward a real food diet, and I totally am on board with that. And so it's like this fine line of like not demonizing foods, but there are better options, is how I would like to, I like to think about it in my mind as like, well, yeah, I could consume that. Like I have the freedom to eat that, but I could also choose to eat a better option. And by better, I mean like I could buy Simple Mills crackers that I can understand all the ingredients on the back of, or I could buy, I don't know, I don't buy them, like the crackers, like Club crackers or whatever. I could buy a brand that has a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily say are the best foods. Like they make a food palatable, they preserve it, and they change the texture, they make you crave it. So all of those additives and preservatives, I guess, but they're also not the best. So do you kind of wrestle with that too with your clients?
Absolutely. We definitely promote a real food diet. I mean, there's been so many studies that have shown how much of a negative impact highly processed ingredients have on your gut health, your hormones. They cause cancer. There's just so many ways that our bodies are just
feeling the brunt of this.
100%. And yet it's so confusing because you go to the store and the label says that this is healthy and that it's nutrient dense and it uses whole grains. But then when you flip it over, like you said, you look at the ingredients and you're like, well, what is that? I've never never heard of that before. And so that is one of the really big aspects of the Full for Life community that we work with women regarding. We try to help them learn how to sift through the mixed messages and choose foods that are more minimally processed. And there is a time and a place for certain foods or ingredients that do have a few highly processed ingredients because as busy moms and women and just in general, we don't have the time to make everything from scratch. So it really is about doing the best that you can and making a slow transition. And so that is another big thing that we work with women with, that you're swapping like 1 to 2 things a week. This isn't, you're going to go into your kitchen and trash like 80% of because
that'll get real expensive too.
It can get expensive and your palate is not adjusted to that. So you're going to get pushback from your family. Your stomach's going to be angry. Your mind's going to be angry. And so the slow and steady always wins the race. And that is huge with transitioning to a real food lifestyle.
I like that. And also just the concept of the swap. I think for the listeners who've been with us for a while, we've probably shared this story on a different episode. But Bill and I were chatting maybe in the How Do You Eat episode, and eating, people will say like, oh, eating healthy is really expensive. And what I found when we started to change our diet a few years ago now, we were buying those different ingredients, the better ingredients, but we were also buying all of the old stuff. So we weren't transitioning things out. We were just adding these other things into the cart that we weren't really familiar with using. And so when you don't like actually make the swap, like you keep everything that you've already had and then you add the things, it's like, oh, it's really expensive, but you have to incorporate, you have to actually make the transitional swap. Or it's like eating all of your meal and adding a salad and saying, oh, my meal was healthier because I added a salad.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I'm also kind of wondering, so we've touched on negative self-talk. We've dived into kind of societal pressures versus like making our own decisions. And we've chatted a lot about food. I'm wondering if you can kind of share about the program, dive into the program and just what exactly you offer, or how exactly would somebody go about connecting with you if they wanted to work with you and kind of get the education and the mentorship that you offer?
So there's 2 ways that you can go about it. Our website obviously has all of the information for the Full for Life community on it. We also have another avenue that you can hop on a 20-minute discovery call with us if you're not sure and, you want to just speak with us and, hear more about it one-on-one and see if it's a fit for you. That's an option too. But once you actually dive into the community, there's so much good stuff that we offer inside of it. It really is a really neat, cool program. There is a calendar that we provide the ladies with that every day there is one small, tiny tweak that they make to their lifestyle.
Oh, okay.
And so it's sustainable and doable because you're just focusing on something small. Like, every Thursday we do a real food swap. So go into your pantry and look at what ingredients are in your bread. Are they highly processed? If they are, this is the swap that you should be making. Here's some brands that you can switch to. A different day might be mindset. Here's a 2-minute meditation that we're going to give you to transition your mind, or drink 8 glasses of water a day. So every day there's one small tweak that you can make to begin to get that snowball effect and the ball rolling.
Okay.
And our hope with the ladies is that they do at least 3 to 4 a week because obviously
they'll add up. Yeah.
They add up, and we're progress over perfection. We don't expect 7 days a week. We have a training every month that's on a different topic, and it's head to toe total body health. It might be on your gut health. It might be on positive self-talk that they can tune into and listen to. And biweekly coaching calls are another aspect so that they can actually
And are those calls are those a one-on-one call, or is it like a community setting call in?
It's a community setting.
Oh, okay.
So we have a topic that we pick. This past week, the one that we did was on setting boundaries for yourself as a busy woman. So everyone can hop on the call. You can ask questions during the call and speak with us one-on-one. If you're not able to make it, we have a portal that gets uploaded to, so you can always listen to it, or you can watch the video as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We have a menu that is provided, so a rotational menu every season that the ladies can follow. Meditations, workouts. There's a family wellness corner on it so that you can get your family on board with all of the changes that you're making, because
yeah, that could be hard. Like, we have the most influence on our house and what is bought and comes into our home. But at the same time, it's like the pushback at times is like, oh, rough.
It's tough. It is, especially with making healthier choices. So we do provide guidance on that as well, that you can get your family on board and that it has that trickle down effect, that it's not just you that's making the changes, that you can integrate it into your household. And then, hopefully your family comes alongside of it and your kids grow up into these beautiful, happy, healthy adults.
If someone were listening and they're like, I kind of hear what you're saying, but this sounds cheesy, or I'm hesitant, or I'm not I'm not sure. Why? Like, why does this matter so much?
I would say that the biggest thing is to be intentional and deliberate. So some ways that you can focus on this is to really stop and check in with yourself a few times a day and ask yourself, how am I feeling? How have I been speaking to myself? Have I done anything yet today for myself to fill my cup? Most of all, what am I grateful for today? So really just stopping and checking in with yourself. And one thing that I'm really big on, and we encourage the ladies in our community to do this a lot, is to set reminders on your phone. Because when you're creating new habits, it's difficult to remember to do that. So if you don't check in with yourself on a regular basis, maybe set a reminder for yourself on your phone tomorrow twice that just pops up and says, check in with yourself.
Okay.
And so that you remember to do it. And when it becomes a habit, then you don't
need that timer.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. That's lovely. And I like that you guys provide the community aspect too, because like, we're not living on an island. We're not in a vacuum.
And whenever you're making any sort of a change, it's always nice to have the support of other people around you that come alongside you and that are your, tribe per se, that can encourage you, because life ebbs and flows and it is difficult sometimes, and we all have highs and lows, and it is great to have
the other people feed into it. It's nice. Yeah. You get the other person's high while you're in a low, and then they get your high when they're in a low, and it's good. Okay, so before we wrap up, I like to ask people about their favorite book, because we really think that reading books is a great way to get into the nuance of a topic, because an author spent a lot of time putting a lot of pen to paper, or keys to a keyboard, and really trying to dissect and think through their thoughts, or invoke you to think about something more deeply. So with that, is there any books that you would enjoy recommending to our audience on this topic?
So Michael Pollan's Omnivore's Dilemma is a really good one if you're interested in the food aspect of things and just having insight on what isn't shed light of like the dirty details of like the ingredients that we're eating and just what's going on with the food and how it's manufactured. That's a really good one, eye-opening. The other one would be Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a really, really awesome book, because the whole basis of the book is bettering yourself by 1% every single day. And over the course of a year, you are 37.78% better than you were at the start of the year. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with our calendar that we provide for our ladies that are in the community. It's those 1% changes that add up at the end of the year, or just like when I spoke about gratitude, and then after a year, I had shifted completely with my mindset. The small tweaks are what are going to make huge transformation down the road. And so that's a really good read, because it kind of, encourages that and provides stories of how he did that. and how, the outcome or what the outcome was from it.
I like that. You're actually the second person to recommend this book.
Really?
Yeah. And it is in my, I do a lot of ebooks, library ebooks. And so it's in my queue, and I had to wait 12 weeks or something. So it's a popular book is what I'm saying. So if you're going to get it through the library, I had to put a hold on, and it's been a while. So
oh my gosh,
there you go, guys. Obviously we're not the only ones talking about this book. So check out Atomic Habits. Before we wrap up, how can people get in touch with you?
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at FULLforLifeGal. And my email is FULLforLifeGal@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can always reach me there. And our website is FULLforLife.com.
Okay, lovely. And we'll put those in the show notes as well. Thank you for coming on the show today. I think we really do have such a barrage of priorities, whether it's worrying about what we're worrying about, or it's worrying about how we're eating, or it's just all of these decisions that we have to make just to live our daily life, right? There's the option there. I mean, I just said, worry about, what if I said, oh, I get to decide how I'm going to enjoy my food today, kind of reframing it. But there's a lot there. And so I think it's lovely that you are helping folks and kind of coming alongside, providing a community and some education to help them do life better. I wish you much success, and it's been lovely chatting today.
Thank you so much. It's been great chatting as well.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and you could disagree with, and still choose to lean in. Give us a follow, rating, and review, and consider sharing this episode with a friend to continue the dialogue and help us grow. Until next time.